Dark Sean presents tick 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 Vietnam War Special Edition. Hi guys, welcome to a new episode of Dark Sean. Today we are also outside and we're also gonna be talking about Vietnam. I'm at a campsite, so let's just get going. Somehow Wi-Fi works here, so let me just tell you about all this. So, I found this photo on Wikipedia. I'm pretty sure that's okay for the guidelines. I never read them, but sure. The Vietnam War, and let me tell you each about these photo collage. I mean, it has been one of the most deadliest wars in history. Millions of Vietnamese died, thousands of US people died, and millions of more other countries' people died too. And so, let's just talk about these photos. This photo is about a U.S. combat operation in a place called, La Drang, I think? Anyways, that's how you spelled it. And they're like, yeah, this is just one of the operations that went into the Vietnam War that helped fight. It's like a mini war, like a mini world war. But let's just set that aside. And now, what about this photo here? This one. Well, that photo has some meaning too. These guys are ARV and Rangers. Yeah, like Rangers as in Power Rangers, but not the same type. And they are defending a city called Saigon. During the 1968, here you go, Tet offensive. Oh, sorry. How about this? These are two A-4C Skyhawks. Yes, that's their name. I'm not kidding here, guys. Skyhawks. After the Gulf of Tonkin incident. This is probably one of the deadliest and most human in photos. What am I saying? This is also an ARVN squadron, but in here they are recapturing a place called, I'm not even trying to pronounce that. During the 1972, and let me get this straight here, Easter Offensive. Yeah, Easter Offensive. And yeah, that's about it. The 1972 Easter Offensive. And well, two more photos here. This is a photo of civilians, which explains why they're all wearing those straw hats, fleeing the 1972 Battle of what? Okay, this is as close as I can get to their spelling.
NGTR.
What? So, these are civilians fleeing from the Battle of 1972 of Quang GTR. No, I definitely flunked that one. Another one. This is the last photo here, and this is the burial of 300 victims of the 1968 Hue massacre. Okay, hope it's Hue.
Who?
What? The 1968 Hue massacre. Seriously, guys? Seriously? And now let's get into the fun stuff. Here you go. Let's start with our story with Eisenhower. I mean, Eisenhower has a lot of great things to do. He did so many things, like, he had to fight against Stevenson, which is kind of great, and also he was a former World War II general, but then he has to find a decision to fight these communists, and finds North Vietnam with the Viet Cong and stuff, and then Ho Chi Minh, I forgot to get a photo of him. There you go. Ho Chi Minh decided to go and invade places. I mean, he just goes everywhere. And he decides to spread communism in his new, Republic of Vietnam. I think that's how you call it, right? Turns out it's actually called the Democratic Republic of Vietnam. But then Eisenhower was again sending the troops. So then this all happened at the year's end of the term, and once he was about, and then he could make decisions like send the troops or or just remain neutral. His presidency ended, and then the 1960 election happened, and John F. Kennedy arrived. Whoopee! Speaking speaking of elections, I will soon release my first presidential election of United States history of George Washington v. George Washington very soon. It took me a while to make that, so don't expect iShows to come so often. So here you go, JFK. He did a lot of great things, and then he bam! He did do talks with Eisenhower, but they were mainly about the Cuban Missile Crisis. So he had that in the party, and he also had to talk about Vietnam here. He was fighting communism here, like like my Wii. What he needed was a good old knockout in the boxing grounds. But then, once he could, he decided that fighting in Vietnam would be his best stand at fighting communism. But then, if insult is added to injury, then John F. Kennedy was then assassinated. Seriously, guys. And so office went all the way to Lyndon B. Johnson. In 1964. Seriously, guys? Seriously? He's almost done with all of his 4 years, and then boom, you get Lyndon B. Johnson. He's supposed to be on Air Force 2, but turns out that plane is called Air Force 1 now, since Lyndon B. Johnson is sworn in as president. And once Lyndon B. Johnson is sworn in as president, Air Force 2 is renamed officially back to its official name, Air Force 1. And Lyndon Johnson, you know what he does? He sends troops to Vietnam. Dun dun dun! And it's a total disaster. After a lot of campaigns and serious war campaigns, they are all broadcasted on good old television, which is also why Vietnam is also called a television war. And by this, a lot of people are shocked, and they don't really like the war anymore. Which is also probably one of the reasons why LBJ doesn't go running for president again. He delivers this on March of 1968. One of the reasons why I'm making the video is because I'm going to do this speech really, really soon. Actually, right after this video. I'll make that video right after I finish this one. And then, here he goes. Another reason why he did not go for re-election was because RFK was coming, and no one can beat JFK's brother, RFK. Well, I guess he did have a chance eventually, because then he was also assassinated. No one really expected that, unless you have heard of the Kennedy curse. And so Tricky Dick, or aka Richard Nixon, gets the election with his classic victory V sign. Yay! Oh. Anyone gonna help me out here? No? Oh, actually, I'll get myself up. Ooh, I love weight. And Nixon, he gets up, he gets the job, he even gets reelected, and the campaign slogan he goes on with, he says he will end this war, but then he lengthens it for another 4 or 5 to 8 years, depending on when you count. He sends more troops there, and I recently did a speech where he explains why he sent all these troops and why he did the Cambodian incursion and stuff. I made a video about the Cambodian incursion too. After people watched what happened on television, they decided, I hate this war, end the war in Vietnam, and Richard Nixon, decided, kill him. And then the Watergate scandal happens, which makes him quit the job. Eventually, the war in Vietnam for the Americans did end. And then, you know what happened? Send them home, and yay! And then the North Vietnamese were America's not coming, South Vietnam, surrender now! They didn't. They fought. And they lost. Well, there goes ending the war. And so here are the alliances on the communist side. North Vietnam and the Viet Cong in the south and the PRG have allies of the Pathet Lao, the Khmer Rouge, the Grunk, China, Soviet Union, and, not surprisingly, North Korea. And these are all supported by Albania, Bulgaria, Cuba, Czechoslovakia, East Germany, Hungary, India, well, diplomatically at least, Poland, Romania, and Sweden, which is also diplomatically supported by. For the anti-communists, South Vietnam is united with United States. Unsurprisingly also, since they hate North Korea, South Korea, Australia, and their old buddies New Zealand, they have so similar flags. Laos, wait a second, Cambodia has the same flag as the Grunk. Well, let's ignore that. Oh, they did it from 1967 to 70, and these guys were from 1970 to 75. Oh, let's skip that. And then the Khmer Republic, 1970 to 1977. Thailand, Philippines, which are all supported by Taiwan and Malaysia. And now for leaders on the communist side. Ho Chi Minh is the leader. Lê Duan, Von Nhogan, Giap, Pham, Van Dong, Tran Van Ta are commanders, and there are many others. And all the leaders and commanders on this side, Nguyen Din Diem, I definitely flunked that one. Nguyen Van, okay, I flunked that one too. Nguyen Cao Ki, flunked that one too, are all South Vietnamese. Lyndon B. Johnson, of course, we were talked about, and Richard Nixon also helped in this. Robert McNamara, William Westmoreland, and Creighton Abrams, and many others are also all these commanders. And here are how many troops that they send. And these are the strengths. So Vietnam has 850,000 troops in 1968 and eventually 1,500,000 from 1974 all the way to 1975. The United States, they have 2,709,918 serving in Vietnam total, and at its peak was in 543,000 on April of 1969. For the Khmer Republic, 200,000 of them were there, and 1973 Laos, and the 72,000 of them were there, and the Royal Army and the Hmong militia. My home country, South Korea, sent 48,000 per year from 1965 to 1973. Well, there was 320,000 in total. Let's see, 32,600. Seriously. And then Thailand had 32,000 sent per year in 1965 all the way to 1973, and Vietnam and Laos, both countries, Australia and sorry guys, Australia had 50,190 in total, and at its peak was 8,300 combat troops. New Zealand sent 3,500 in total, and at its peak was 552 combat troops. And Philippines just had 2,061 in total. The North Vietnamese sent 690,000 in 1966, including the PA Viet and the Viet Cong. Speaking of the Viet Cong, they were estimated to have sent 200,000 in 1968. China has sent 170,000 from 1968, and in total they had 320,000 in total. The Khmer Rouge had 70,000 of them in 1972. The Pathet Lao had 48,000 of them in 1970, and the Soviet Union had an estimated 3,000, and North Korea sent the littlest of 200. I guess Kimmy did not like it at all. Alright, so here are the casualties and the results. Eventually, the North Vietnamese did win. The North Vietnamese and the Viet Cong both had 30,000 to 182,000 civilians dead. Oh, I really want to curse here. And then there were 849,018 military dead, too, for per Vietnam, and 1/3 of non-combat deaths, and 666,000 to 950,765 dead for the U.S. estimated in 1964 all the way to 1974. And they also had 232,000 to 300,000 plus, that means more than that, military missing per Vietnam. 600,000 more than 600,000 were military wounded. The Khmer Rouge, we don't actually know theirs. The Pathet Lao, we don't know theirs either. China has an estimated 1,100 dead and 4,200 wounded. The Soviet Union only has 16 dead. North Vietnam has 14 dead, lowest of them all, and the total military dead missing are estimated roughly to be 1,100,000, and the total military wounded was estimated to 604,200, excluding the Grunks, Khmer Rouge, and the Pathet Laos. On the anti-communist side, South Vietnamese had 195,000 to 430,000 civilians dead, and they had 254,000 to 256 to 313,000 military dead. 1,170,000 of military were wounded, and an estimated 1 million were captured. The United States had 58,281 dead, 47,434 from them from combat, and 303,644 wounded, including the 150,341 not requiring the hospital care. Laos had 15,000 army dead, and the Khmer Republic, we actually don't know. The South Koreans had 5,099 dead and 10,962 wounded and 4 missing. Australians had 521 dead and 3,129 wounded. Thailand has 351 dead. And the list is continued. New Zealand has 37 dead. The Republic of China, aka Taiwan, had 25 dead and 17 captured. Philippines had 9 dead and 64 wounded. And so the total military need for these guys was 333,620 all the way to 3,920. 392,364 all the way to total military wounded was estimated around to be more than 1,340,000, including the forks and fangs. Seriously, I thought I heard farts. Sorry. And the total military captured was more than an estimated 1 million of them. So, Vietnamese civilians killed were 405,000 all the way to 2 million. Vietnamese total deaths were 966,000 to 3,010,000. Cambodian civil war deaths were 275,000 all the way to 310,000. Laotian civil wars in the dead were 20,000 all the way to 62,000. Non-Indo-Chinese military deaths were 65,000 all the way to 494, and the total death was 1,326,494 to 3,447,494. Yeah, and there's way more information than this. If you look at it, if you look at the world map, maybe France did suck. I mean, France were the ones who were controlling Vietnam anyway. I mean, they were the ones who were controlling everything. China was right above them, Korea was right here, North Korea was here, China here, the United States of America were all the way here, and Australia was here, New Zealand was here, and basically it was another version of a world war, just lower in number of countries, which is why it's not considered a world war. And so, what can we learn from the Vietnamese? I mean, the United States of America and the people who were against the communists and had superior technology, but the communists had the knowledge of the land, and they had secret tunnels that looked like those bunkers that they show in Iron Man 1. And also another thing here too, one of the reasons why the United States lost was because they misjudged the purpose of the war. They thought that the Viet Cong and the Ho Chi Minh were fighting for communism. In fact, they were fighting for Vietnam. I mean, look at the United States. They fought not for their own selfish gains, but they fought for their independence. What is right and what is, if God exists, what God gave them. At least in their sense. And the UK misjudged that, and that's why they lost. The United States may have had the upper hand in weapons, but they misjudged it. Misjudged the cause. So, I hope you guys enjoyed that special edition of Dark Sean. If you guys want to see more Dark Sean, then you don't need to click the notification bell for that. One of them is always sent almost every day. Actually, 5 times a week now. And I hope to see you guys in the next episode. Sean out. Peace. Oh yeah, one more thing. Merry Christmas, guys! Unless you're watching this at another time of year, then, Happy New Year, guys! Or Happy Thanksgiving! Or Happy Halloween! Did I just do that already? Happy Easter! Or, just in case, Happy Birthday! Da